The vast expanse of space was lit by the brilliant flashes of weapons fire as the titanic battle raged on. The two alien armadas, each representing a sprawling interstellar civilization, were locked in a desperate struggle for supremacy. Massive warships traded broadsides, their energy beams and missile barrages carving deep into the hulls of their rivals. Smaller escort craft darted between the behemoths, providing covering fire and targeting weak points. Amidst the chaos, a lone ship emerged from the fray, its sleek silver hull gleaming in the brilliant light of the exchange. Unlike the angular, intimidating vessels of the two warring factions, this ship had a slender, streamlined design, the product of human ingenuity rather than the militaristic designs of the alien cultures. At the helm of the human ship, Captain Samantha Briggs surveyed the scene with a mixture of awe and trepidation. She had never witnessed anything like this level of destruction, this sheer scale of interstellar warfare. Part of her wanted to turn and flee, to escape this conflagration before her vessel was caught in a crossfire. But another, more resolute part of her refused to abandon those in need. "Helm, take us in," she ordered, her voice calm and steady despite the thunderous din of the battle raging around them. "Maximum speed, but keep our shields at full power. We need to get closer to those damaged ships." The pilot, a young man named Jen, glanced nervously at the captain. "Ma'am, are you sure about this? Those aliens look like they're ready to tear each other apart. We could be vaporized in an instant." Samantha placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "I know it's risky, Jen, but we have to try. Those ships are crippled. If we don't help them, their crews will die out here, alone and forgotten. We can't abandon them, not when we have the power to make a difference." Jan hesitated for a moment, then nodded grimly. "Aye, aye, Captain." Engaging thrusters, full speed ahead. The human vessel surged forward, its engines burning bright as it sliced through the maelstrom of enemy fire. Samantha gripped the arms of her chair, her knuckles white, as her ship weaved and dodged between the towering warships. Explosions rocked the hull, but the shields held firm, allowing them to press on. As they drew closer to the damaged vessels, Samantha could make out the details of their constructions. The jagged, angular lines of the alien crafts, their hulls scarred by battle. But there, amid the chaos, she also spotted the telltale signs of breaches and system failures. These ships were crippled, their crews trapped and helpless. "Helm, begin scanning for the most severely damaged vessels," she ordered. "We need to prioritize our efforts, find the ones closest to destruction, and get them back online first." Jan's fingers danced across the control panel, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Aye, Captain. I've identified 3 ships that are on the verge of complete systems failure. Locking on now." Samantha nodded, her jaw set with determination. "Then let's get to work. Patch me through to the engineering team. I want every hand we have working to restore those vessels." Time is of the essence. As the human ship drew closer, the alien commanders on both sides paused, their sensors detecting the unexpected interloper. Curiosity and confusion flickered across their alien features. What was this tiny craft doing, daring to venture into the heart of the battlefield? And more importantly, what was its true purpose? The human vessel continued on, undeterred by the towering warships surrounding it. For Samantha and her crew, there was no room for hesitation, no time to ponder the consequences. They had a mission to accomplish, lives to save, and they would not be deterred, no matter the cost. The human ship darted between the towering alien vessels, its engines propelling it with a speed and agility that seemed to defy the laws of physics. As it approached the crippled warships, the alien commanders could only watch in stunned silence, their fingers poised over the firing controls but unwilling to risk destroying the unexpected interloper. Samantha Briggs gripped the arms of her chair, her eyes narrowed in concentration as she studied the damage reports flooding in from the engineering team. "Talk to me, Jan," she said, her voice terse. "Where's the worst of it?" The young pilot's fingers flew across his console, his brow furrowed. The aft sections of all 3 ships have sustained major structural damage, he replied, his words rapid and urgent. Reactor cores are offline, life support systems are failing, and there's extensive hull breaching. We need to act fast if we're going to save them. Samantha nodded, her jaw set with determination. Patch me through to the engineering team. I want every available hand working on those repairs, and I want status updates every 2 minutes. Time is not on our side. Moments later, the communications array crackled to life, and the gruff voice of the chief engineer, a weathered veteran named Mikhail, echoed through the bridge. Aye, Captain. We're on it. Our teams are already swarming the damaged sections, sealing breaches and rerouting power. But these ships are in rough shape. It's going to take some time to get them back online. We don't have time, Mikhail, Samantha replied, her tone brooking no argument. Those crews are running out of air, and if those reactors go critical, we're all going to be in deep trouble. Do whatever it takes, but get those ships stabilized and their systems back online as quickly as possible. Understood, ma'am, Mikhail said, his voice grim. We'll work around the clock if we have to. Just keep those alien bastards off our backs, and we'll have these crates flying again in no time. Samantha glanced at the tactical display, her eyes narrowing as she observed the alien warships circling like vultures, their weapons systems primed and ready. That's the plan, Mikhail, she murmured. But I can't guarantee how long we'll have before they decide to intervene. Keep those teams moving, and let me know the instant you have something. As the communication channel closed, Samantha turned to John, her expression grim. How long do we have before those alien ships decide to open fire? Jan's fingers danced across his console, his eyes darting from one readout to the next. It's hard to say for sure, Captain, he replied, his voice tinged with uncertainty. They seem to be holding their fire for now, but I can't tell if it's out of caution or some other motive. We're in the middle of their battlefield, and they may not take kindly to a human interloper meddling in their affairs. Samantha's lips tightened into a thin line. Then we need to work quickly. Patch me through to the rest of the crew. I want all hands on deck, and I want those repairs completed as soon as humanly possible. We're on borrowed time here, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let those crews die on our watch. As the captain's orders echoed through the ship, the human crews sprang into action, their faces set with determination. They knew the stakes were high, and that the alien commanders were likely moments away from deciding their fate. But they also knew that they couldn't abandon those in need, not when they had the power to make a difference. Across the battlefield, the alien commanders watched the human ship with a mix of curiosity and wariness. What were these strange, diminutive creatures doing, daring to venture into the heart of their conflict? And why were they so intent on repairing the damaged vessels, rather than simply fleeing to safety? The answers, it seemed, were about to be revealed. For better or for worse, aboard the flagship of the Krath Armada, Admiral Vorax paced the length of the command deck, his mandibles clicking in agitation. The appearance of the human ship had thrown his carefully laid plans into disarray, and he did not like it one bit. "Report," he growled, fixing his piercing gaze on the sensor officer. "What is the status of the repairs?" The officer, a young Krath named Tellen, swallowed nervously before responding. "The human vessel has made significant progress, sir. They've already stabilized the damaged reactors and life support systems on 2 of the crippled ships. At this rate, they'll have all 3 vessels back online within the hour." Vorax's mandibles clicked together in a gesture of annoyance. "Unacceptable. We cannot allow those fools to interfere any further. Prepare to target the human ship directly. I want it destroyed before it can complete its meddling." Tellen hesitated, his eyes darting nervously between the readouts and the imposing figure of the admiral. "But, sir, the human vessel's shields are holding strong. We may not be able to penetrate them with our current firepower." Vorax's eyes narrowed to slits, and he leaned in closer to the sensor officer, his voice low and menacing. "Then find another way, Tellen. I will not have our victory snatched from us by these insignificant creatures. Do whatever it takes to disable that ship, even if you have to sacrifice one of our own vessels to do it." Tillen's eyes widened in alarm. "But, Admiral, that would be enough." Vorax roared, his voice echoing through the command deck. "I will not hear any more excuses. Carry out my orders, or I will find someone else who will." Tillen swallowed hard, his fingers trembling as he relayed the Admiral's orders to the fleet. Within moments, the craft ships began to converge on the human vessel, their weapons systems primed and ready. Back on the bridge of the human ship, Samantha Briggs watched the alien vessels with growing unease. "Jian, what's happening out there?" she demanded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The young pilot's face was etched with concern. "The craft ships are closing in on us, Captain. They're powering up their weapons systems, but I can't get a clear reading on their targeting." Samantha's lips pressed into a thin line. "Damn it. Hail them, Jian. Let's see if we can't reason with them before they open fire." Jian nodded and keyed the communications array. "Attention, craft vessels. This is Captain Samantha Briggs of the human ship Valiant. We mean you no harm. We're only here to assist your damaged comrades and restore their systems. Please, stand down and allow us to complete our work." For a long moment, there was only silence. Then the view screen crackled to life, and the stern, alien face of Admiral Vorax appeared. "Humans," the craft commander spat, his mandibles clicking with disdain. "Your meddling in our affairs will not be tolerated. You have interfered with the natural course of our conflict, and for that, you must be eliminated." Samantha felt a chill run down her spine at the raw hatred in Vorax's words. "Admiral, please. We're not your enemies. We're only trying to save those crews." "Silence," Vorax roared, his eyes blazing with fury. "Your lives are forfeit. Prepare to be destroyed." The transmission cut off, and Samantha watched in horror as the craft ships opened fire, their weapons lancing out towards the Valiant. "Jian, evasive maneuvers," she barked, gripping the arms of her chair. The young pilot's fingers danced across the controls, guiding the Valiant through the hail of energy beams and missiles. But as skilled as he was, the human ship was vastly outmatched, its shields struggling to hold against the relentless craft assault. Samantha's mind raced, desperately searching for a way out of this predicament. They couldn't abandon the crippled vessels, not when they were so close to restoring them. But if they stayed, they would be overwhelmed and destroyed. The fate of the Valiant, and the lives of everyone on board, hung in the balance, and Samantha knew that they were running out of time. The Valiant surged and weaved through the hail of craft weapons fire, its thrusters straining as Jian pushed the ship to its limits. Samantha gripped the arms of her chair, her knuckles white, as she watched the tactical display, her mind racing. "Shields at 60% and falling," Jian shouted, his voice tinged with panic. "We can't take much more of this." Samantha's jaw tightened. "Keep us moving, Jian. Those crippled ships need us, and we can't abandon them now. Find us an opening, somewhere we can lose these craft bastards." As if in response to her words, the Valiant shuddered as a powerful beam sliced through its forward shields. Sparks erupted from the console, and Jian winced as a shower of debris rained down around him. "Shields down to 40%, he yelled. "We're running out of options here, Captain." Samantha's mind raced, desperately searching for a solution. And then she saw it, a tiny glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. "Jian, target the damaged craft vessel," she ordered, her voice sharp and decisive. "Prepare a full-power burst from the forward cannon. We're going to punch through their defenses and get to safety." Jian's eyes widened in surprise, but he nodded and swung the Valiant towards the crippled craft ship. "Aye, Captain." Charging the main cannon now. As the Valiant closed in, the damaged craft vessel loomed ever larger in their view screen. Samantha could see the ragged, scarred hull, the result of earlier battle damage. This was their chance. "Fire," she shouted, her voice cutting through the din of the battle. The Valiant's forward cannon erupted in a blinding flash, a concentrated beam of energy lancing out and smashing into the craft ship's weakened shields. For a moment, Samantha held her breath, watching as the beam pierced the hull and tore through the enemy vessel's internal systems. Then, with a thunderous explosion, the craft ship began to break apart, its structural integrity compromised beyond repair. The blast rocked the surrounding craft vessels, disrupting their targeting and buying the Valiant a precious few seconds. "Now, Jian," Samantha yelled, "full throttle, straight through the gap." The Valiant surged forward, its engines roaring as it plunged through the opening created by the destruction of the craft ship. Samantha gripped the arms of her chair, her eyes fixed on the view screen as they careened through the hail of weapons fire, weaving and dodging with a skill born of desperation. And then, just as it seemed they would be overwhelmed, the Valiant emerged from the chaos, its shield still holding, but battered and worn. Samantha let out a long, shuddering breath, her shoulders sagging with relief. "Status report, Jian," she said, her voice hoarse. The young pilot's fingers danced across his console, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Shields at 20% and holding, Captain," he replied. "We've taken some damage to the hull and the main cannon, but we're still functional." Samantha nodded, her eyes narrowing as she studied the tactical display. The craft ships had broken off their pursuit, their attention now focused on the crippled vessels the Valiant had been trying to repair. "Damn it," she muttered, her fists clenching in frustration. "They're going to finish off those ships now, and there's nothing we can do to stop them." Jan's expression was grim. "We can't take on that entire fleet, Captain. Not in our current condition." Samantha's jaw tightened, and she drew in a deep breath, steeling herself for what she knew she had to do. "Then we have no choice," she said, her voice low and resolute. "We have to fall back and regroup. Those crews are on their own now." With a heavy heart, she turned to the comm officer. "Hail the craft ships. Let them know that we're retreating, but that we'll be back, and tell them that they'll regret the day they crossed the path of the Valiant." As the transmission went out, Samantha watched the craft vessels converge on the damaged ships, their weapons blazing. She knew that, in all likelihood, those crews were doomed, but she also knew that they couldn't save them, not in their current condition. The Valiant turned and fled, leaving the deadly dance of battle behind. But Samantha knew that this was not the end. Somehow, someway, they would find a way to return and rescue those trapped souls. It was a promise she had made, and one she fully intended to keep. The Valiant limped away from the battlefield, its battered hull and diminished shields a testament to the ferocity of the craft assault. Aboard the human vessel, the crew moved with a sense of grim determination, their faces etched with a mixture of exhaustion and resolve. At the heart of the bridge, Captain Samantha Briggs stood, her hands gripping the edge of the tactical console as she pored over the damage reports. Her expression was tense, her jaw set with a steely resolve that belied the turmoil she felt within. "Give me a full damage assessment, Jian," she said, her voice calm and measured. The young pilot's fingers danced across his console, his brow furrowed in concentration. "The main cannon is offline, and we've suffered significant hull breaches along the port side," he replied, his words clipped. "Shields are holding at 20%, but they won't last much longer if we take another barrage like that." Samantha nodded, her eyes narrowing. "And the crippled craft vessels? What's their status?" Jan's expression darkened. "I'm afraid we lost them, Captain," he said, his voice tinged with regret. "The craft ships converged on them as soon as we retreated. By the time we were out of range, they were already opening fire." Samantha's jaw tightened, and for a moment, the bridge was filled with a heavy silence. The thought of those trapped crews, abandoned to their fate, weighed heavily on all of them. "We had no choice," Samantha finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We couldn't have taken on that entire craft fleet in our condition. But I'll be damned if I'm going to let them get away with this." She straightened her shoulders, her eyes hardening with determination. Set a course for the nearest friendly outpost, Jian. We need to get these repairs done and resupply as quickly as possible. Then, we're going back. Jan's eyes widened with a mix of surprise and trepidation. Back, Captain. You can't be serious. We barely escaped with our lives the first time. Going back would be suicide. Samantha fixed him with a steely gaze. I know the risks, John, but we can't just leave those crews to die. They're counting on us, and I won't abandon them, not when we have the power to make a difference. The young pilot opened his mouth to argue, but before he could speak, the communications array crackled to life. Attention, human vessel. A stern, alien voice echoed through the bridge. This is Admiral Vorax of the Krath Armada. Stand down and prepare to be boarded. You will answer for your interference in our conflict. Samantha's eyes narrowed, and she gestured to the comm officer to open a channel. This is Captain Samantha Briggs of the Valiant. We have no intention of surrendering, Admiral. Your actions have condemned innocent lives, and will be damned if we let you get away with it. Vorax's mandibles clicked together in a gesture of annoyance. Foolish humans, he spat. You have no understanding of the greater conflict at play here. Your meddling has only served to prolong this war, and now you will pay the price. Then come and get us. Vorax, Samantha replied, her voice dripping with defiance. We'll be waiting. The transmission cut off, and Samantha turned to her crew, her expression grim but resolute. Battle stations, everyone. We're about to have company. As the Valiant's crew sprung into action, Samantha steeled herself for the coming confrontation. She knew that the odds were stacked against them, but she also knew that they couldn't turn their backs on those in need, not when they had the power to make a difference. Whatever the cost, she was determined to save those trapped crews, and if that meant taking on the full might of the Krath Armada, then so be it. The Valiant and its crew were ready to face whatever came their way. The Valiant hovered in the void, its battered hull a testament to the ferocity of its previous encounter with the Krath Armada. Aboard the human vessel, the crew moved with a palpable sense of tension, their eyes fixed on the tactical displays as they prepared for the inevitable confrontation. Captain Samantha Briggs stood at the heart of the bridge, her gaze unwavering, as she watched the craft ships closing in. She knew that the odds were stacked against them, that the Valiant's damaged systems and diminished shields would be no match for the overwhelming firepower of the alien fleet. And yet, she refused to back down, her determination fueled by a resolve to save the trapped crews and to hold the Krath accountable for their actions. Suddenly, a hail crackled to life on the communications array, and the stern, alien face of Admiral Vorax appeared on the viewscreen. Human vessel, the Krath commander growled, his mandibles clicking with a mixture of disgust and begrudging respect. You have proven to be more resilient than I expected, but your defiance ends here. Samantha's lips tightened into a thin line, and she straightened her shoulders, her expression one of unwavering defiance. I'm listening, Admiral, she said, her voice calm and measured. Vorax's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, there was a flicker of uncertainty in his gaze. It seems we have reached an impasse, he said, his tone laced with reluctance. Your interference in our conflict has been problematic, but I am willing to offer you a way out if you are willing to listen. Samantha's brow furrowed, and she exchanged a quick glance with Jan, who had moved to stand beside her. I'm listening, she repeated, her curiosity piqued. Your repair capabilities have proven to be a valuable asset, Vorax said, his words clipped and guarded. The Krath Armada has sustained significant damage in this conflict, and our ability to maintain our ships has been severely compromised. We are willing to offer you a truce in exchange for your expertise. Samantha's eyes widened, and she felt a surge of hope rise within her. You want us to help repair your vessels? She asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. Vorax's mandibles clicked together in a gesture of reluctant acknowledgement. Yes, human. In return, we will cease our hostilities and allow you to leave this system unharmed. Your skills have proven to be a valuable commodity, and we are willing to put aside our differences for now." Samantha's mind raced, weighing the implications of Vorax's offer. On the one hand, it represented a chance to save the lives of the trapped crews and to potentially forge a lasting peace between the Krath and the humans. But on the other hand, she knew that it would come at a cost, the cost of their independence and their freedom. Jan leaned in closer, his voice low and urgent. "Captain, we can't trust them. This could be a trap, a way for them to get their hands on our technology and use it against us." Samantha nodded, her expression pensive. "I know, Jan, but we can't just leave those crews to die. And if this is our only chance to save them, then I have to at least consider it." She turned back to Vorax, her gaze steady and resolute. "Admiral, we will need time to consider your offer. But know this, if we agree to this truce, it will be on the condition that you release the crews of the damaged vessels and allow them to depart this system unharmed." Vorax's mandibles clicked together in a gesture of grudging acknowledgement. "Very well, human. You have one standard cycle to make your decision. But know this, if you refuse, we will destroy your vessel and take what we need by force." The transmission cut off, and the bridge was filled with a tense silence. Samantha turned to her crew, her expression grave. "We have a difficult decision to make, people," she said, her voice low and resolute. "But one thing is clear, we can't abandon those crews, not when we have the power to save them. The question is, are we willing to pay the price?" As the Valiant drifted in the void, the crew grappled with the weight of that decision, their futures, and the lives of countless others, hanging in the balance. The bridge of the Valiant was filled with a tense silence as the crew grappled with the weight of Captain Samantha Briggs' words. The offer from Admiral Vorax and the Krath Armada was a tempting one, an opportunity to save the lives of the trapped crews and potentially forge a lasting peace between their peoples. But it came at a cost, one that threatened to strip the humans of their hard-won independence and freedom. Samantha paced the length of the bridge, her mind racing as she considered the implications of their decision. On one hand, she knew that they couldn't simply abandon those trapped crews to their fate, not when they had the power to save them. The thought of leaving them to die at the hands of the Krath was a burden she couldn't bear. But on the other hand, she also understood the risks of accepting Vorax's offer. By agreeing to the truce and using their repair expertise to aid the Krath, they would be placing themselves at the mercy of a ruthless and unpredictable foe. There was no guarantee that the Krath would hold up their end of the bargain, and the prospect of having their technology and knowledge exploited filled Samantha with a sense of dread. "Captain," Jan said, his voice low and tense, "I know what you're thinking, but we can't trust them. The Krath have shown themselves to be unscrupulous and willing to do whatever it takes to achieve their goals. If we agree to this, we'll be putting ourselves and our people at risk." Samantha nodded, her expression grave. "I know, Jan. Believe me, I'm not blind to the dangers. But those crews are counting on us, and I can't just turn my back on them, not when we have the power to save them." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the faces of her crew, seeing the same mixture of fear and determination that she felt within herself. "We've come this far, risked everything to help those in need, and I'll be damned if I'm going to stop now, no matter the cost." Jian opened his mouth to protest, but Samantha raised a hand, silencing him. "I know what I'm asking of you all," she said, her voice heavy with the weight of her decision. "This is a dangerous gamble, and there's no guarantee that we'll come out of it unscathed. But I believe that it's the right thing to do, and I'm willing to take that risk." She turned to the communications officer, her expression resolute. "Hail the Krath fleet. Tell Admiral Vorax that we accept his offer, but with one condition. The crews of the damaged ships must be released and allowed to depart this system unharmed." The officer nodded, his fingers quickly keying in the message. Moments later, the view screen flickered to life, and the stern face of Vorax appeared once more. "Captain Briggs," the Krath commander said, his mandibles clicking together in a gesture of begrudging acknowledgement. "I must admit, I did not expect you to accept my offer. But your condition is acceptable." Samantha felt a surge of relief, but it was tempered by a sense of unease. "Then we have a deal, Admiral. But know this, if you betray us, if you so much as lay a finger on those crews, we will rain down hell upon you and your people." Vorax's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, Samantha saw a flicker of uncertainty in his gaze. "Understood, human," he said, his voice low and gruff. "We will hold up our end of the bargain. But I warn you, do not attempt to deceive us. Our patience has its limits." The transmission cut off, and the bridge was once again filled with a tense silence. Samantha turned to her crew, her expression solemn. "We've made our choice," she said, her voice quiet but resolute. "Now, we have to live with the consequences. I know this isn't an easy decision, and I understand the risks. But I believe that it's the right thing to do, and I'm willing to face whatever comes our way." As the Valiant moved to rendezvous with the craft fleet, the weight of their decision hung heavy in the air. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The humans were about to embark on a perilous journey, one that would test the limits of their resolve and their principles. The Valiant cautiously approached the craft fleet, its battered hull a testament to the fierce battle it had endured. Aboard the human vessel, the crew moved with a mixture of trepidation and resolve, their eyes fixed on the looming silhouettes of the alien warships. Captain Samantha Briggs stood at the helm, her expression calm and focused, despite the turmoil that raged within her. She knew that the decision to accept Vorax's offer was a gamble, one that could have dire consequences for her crew and her people. But she also believed that it was the right thing to do, that saving the trapped crews and forging a tentative peace with the craft was worth the risk. As the Valiant drew closer, a hail crackled to life on the communications array, and the stern face of Admiral Vorax appeared on the view screen. "Human vessel," the craft commander said, his mandibles clicking with a hint of begrudging respect. "You have upheld your end of the bargain. The crews of the damaged ships have been released, and they are free to depart this system." Samantha nodded, her expression grim. "Thank you, Admiral. Now, it's time for us to uphold our end of the deal. Where do you need us?" Vorax's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, Samantha saw a glimmer of uncertainty in his gaze. "Follow us," he said, his voice gruff. "Our ships have sustained significant damage, and we require your expertise to restore their functionality." The Valiant fell into formation behind the craft fleet, its engines burning brightly as it matched their pace. Samantha turned to her crew, her expression grave. "All right, people," she said, her voice clear and resolute. "This is it. We're about to enter the heart of the Krath Armada, and we need to be on our toes. I don't need to tell you how dangerous this is, but I also know that we're the only ones who can save those trapped crews. So let's get to work, and let's show these Krath what the humans are made of." The crew responded with a chorus of determined nods, their faces set with a mixture of fear and purpose. They knew the risks, but they also knew that they couldn't turn their backs on those in need, not when they had the power to make a difference. As the Valiant followed the craft fleet, Samantha watched the towering warships with a mixture of awe and trepidation. She had never seen such a formidable display of alien technology and firepower, and she couldn't help but wonder if they had made the right decision in agreeing to this alliance. But then, she caught a glimpse of the damaged vessels, their hulls scarred by battle, and she knew that there was no turning back. They were committed now, and they would have to see this through, no matter the cost. The Krath fleet came to a halt, and the Valiant moved in, its crew swarming the damaged ships like a hive of industrious ants. Samantha watched from the bridge, her hands clenched into fists, as she waited for the first signs of treachery from the Krath. But to her surprise, the alien vessels remained silent, their weapon systems powered down as the human crew worked tirelessly to restore their systems. Vorax himself appeared on the view screen, his expression unreadable. "You have proven your worth, human," the Krath commander said, his voice tinged with a hint of reluctant respect. Your people's skills have exceeded our expectations, and we are grateful for your assistance." Samantha blinked, momentarily taken aback by the unexpected acknowledgement. "Thank you, Admiral," she replied, her voice cautious. "But I suspect that this is only the beginning. Where do we go from here?" Vorax's mandibles clicked together, and for a moment, Samantha thought she saw a glimmer of something akin to respect in his alien features. "That, Captain Briggs, is up to us," he said, his voice low and thoughtful. "The path forward is uncertain, but one thing is clear. The humans have proven themselves to be invaluable allies in this conflict, and we would be unwise to let that opportunity slip away." As the Valiant and the Craft fleet began the delicate work of restoring the damaged vessels, Samantha felt a sense of cautious optimism take root within her. Perhaps, just perhaps, this uneasy alliance could pave the way for a new era of cooperation and understanding between their peoples. It was a gamble, to be sure, but one that Samantha was willing to take. For the sake of those they had saved, and for the future of both their civilizations, she was determined to see this through, no matter what challenges lay ahead.